What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Knuckle Sandwich Podcast. Today we are sitting down with the LFA CEO himself, Ed Soares, talking about the upcoming Louisville, Kentucky event, LFA 180. You are not going to want to miss this, and since you don't want to miss that, you might as well hit subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any other interviews from here on out. Now that you're ready, you better buckle up, boys and girls, because this was crazy. Get ready. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special episode. I have the CEO of LFA right in front of me on the camera, Ed Soares. Ed, how is it going? Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
We've got a lot to talk about today. And number one, I want to talk about LFA, just so people, if they don't know, they will know. But also, too, you guys are coming very close to where I am, but coming to Louisville, Kentucky at the end of March. So we got to talk about that card and really talk about some of the exciting things going on with that. But to start, kind of let the people know what LFA is. If they haven't heard of it, surely they will soon. But you guys are really, in a quote that you had before, the college football for the UFC. You guys are the next step for that up-and-coming talent. So I wanted to talk about how you guys formed into that, and how you really take pride in being that stepping stone for people to the biggest stage.
Yeah, the way the LFA was formed, okay, I used to be the president of the RFA, and then there was Legacy Fighting Championship. 2012, when I became the president of the RFA, we've always had that vision of let's make a creative developmental program. My background before I was a promoter, so I managed a lot of the big names in the industry, and at that point I realized that there was no development there, and you would get guys that are fighting in a high school gymnasium in front of 500 people, and then you turn around and they get the phone call UFC, and they're 3 weeks later they're walking into the Staples Center, 70 cameras, and they weren't prepared for that. So we wanted to create a proper developmental organization where not only guys could be prepared inside the octagon with the proper fights, but also be prepared with the responsibilities outside the octagon, media commitments, all the other things I don't really think about, which is an important part of having a successful career. So back in 2016, we decided to merge with Legacy Fighting Championship, and that's where the name LFA came up, because we took Legacy from them, Fighting was the names, and we took Alliance, so that's how it formed the LFA, the Legacy Fighting Alliance. And then we started our first event in 2017, and here we are in 2024, and the event that we're doing in Louisville, Kentucky will be LFA 180. So it'll be our 180th event, and we've done that in less than 7 years.
That's insane. That's so amazing. And you guys have really produced top-level talent to the UFC, and a lot of names that people would know are Kamaru Usman, Alexandre Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, Henry Cejudo. How do you guys find this talent? I know you had said people fighting in high school and gymnasiums, but do you guys seek out these guys, or do you have a team that does this? And how do you find these guys? But also, how do you know when you have found someone that's going to go really far on the next stage?
Well, I feel the sport has changed a lot. Before you used to get great fighters, and they were learning to be athletes. And now it's much different. Now you're getting great athletes that are learning to be fighters. So I think, but really when it comes to it and you look at it, you're not going to be able to athlete can be a fighter until he gets in there and gets punched in the face. That's when you realize, well, then a guy goes, wait a second, man, I'm an athlete. I'm very athletic. I love this, but I don't like getting hit in the face. And I think that's what the LFA really prepares these athletes for the next step in their career. And I think all the bigger organizations out there that these athletes take a step up into, like even in Bellator. I mean, we as far as champions go, Sergio Pettis was a RFA champ. Jay champ was an LFA champ. You've got PFL champions like Henan Problema. He was an LFA alumni. You know, we've got stars pretty much along all the bigger organizations. And I think that the bigger organizations know that when you're winning fights in the LFA, you're truly battle tested. We don't really put together mismatches. We don't put together smash fights. And that's why the events know that if you're a title holder, or if you're winning fights on the main card of the fighting top level talent, the top level unsigned talent. So they know that if they're going to bring them into their organization, they're going to be able to perform. And I think that that's why the stats that we have such as 34% of our LFA alum of the UFC champions are LFA alumni. We've to the UFC, about 310 people into the UFC. And of those 300 people, 170 of them are still there. So we have almost a 50% retention rate. And that's because we really prepare these athletes to go to war when they step into the cage.
That's amazing. Those statistics are absolutely insane. And you had said the battle testing and not really giving gimme fights here and there. When we start talking about the Louisville show in the main event, you've got a guy that is on a 4-fight win streak, and I want to get to him in a little bit. But really, I really want to kind of start with what made LFA choose Louisville for LFA 180, because you guys have been to Owensboro already before. So I wonder if maybe the history of fighting in Louisville maybe had a swing to it. I know it's probably the largest city in Kentucky as well. But what really chose Louisville for this show?
I'll be honest. The reason we went to Louisville right off is really because of my good old friend Eddie Donaldson. Eddie Donaldson, who actually connected us to do that, he's been doing a lot of things in Louisville. His family's based from Louisville, and in that market of the country produces some tough talent. And how well we did in Owensboro, and we see that Louisville is 10 times the size of that, and has a fight history, has a fight talent mentality, a history of that, having the affiliations with Muhammad Ali and all that. Mm-hmm. We just thought it would be a perfect fit. Eddie Donaldson has been a big instrumental part in us going there and really being kind of the pipeline and almost the connector in making it all happen. So those were the reasons why we love coming to that market and that region of the United States. And Eddie made it very possible for us to come to Louisville.
You guys have a lot of local talent on the card as well. Blake Alvey, Lance Lawrence, Ben Fowler, Emilio Vacilio, I may have said that wrong, and Alexander Colette. I mean, 5 Kentuckians on the LFA card. Was that something that you guys really were seeking when building this card, is really having that local talent to really hype up that Kentucky crowd?
We always try to bring in, as many locals as we possibly can. It's important for the region, and everyone likes the local kid to cheer for. So definitely. And it just happened to be that we, like I said, Kentucky and that produces some very happy to be able to do that. So yes, as far as and then when you say how do we find the talent and do all that, I got to tell you, our matchmaker, Mark Berry, is one of the best matchmakers in the world. I mean, he really knows his stuff. And that's why you look at our fights, 90% of our fights are always exciting, because he really knows how to match fights, and he really knows how to, navigate through all the inquiries that we get and really get the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree, because I've been able to watch a few of these guys live, like Blake Alvey, for instance, and he is an exciting fighter. So I'm sure he's going to bring a punch right to the very beginning of the fight card. But your last 8 shows, I was doing some digging, doing some statistics, right? Your last 8 shows have all had a title fight. And your main event for Louisville is not a title fight, but I think it's pretty interesting. You've got Kevin Fernandez and Igor Sakura. Fernandez is on a 4-fight win streak. All of his fights, his last 4 have been finishes. And Igor, his last fight was against Cody Davis for the belt. Would you consider this fight maybe a #1 contender fight? I mean, how could we really put this on a silver platter for those fans in Louisville?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a silver platter. We were really trying hard to we were really trying hard to make a title fight for Louisville to really kick it off, but things didn't line up. We had a title, and the person that was going to come to defend their title, which is from that region of the world, is or that region of the country, to potentially get on the Ultimate Fighter. So this next season's Ultimate Fighter. So with that being said, to follow these, we want to support these kids' dreams, and their dream, even though being an LFA champion is definitely a step. It's not their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is to be in the UFC, and we support that. And that's the only reason why Louisville didn't get a title fight. And we're not also going to throw together a title fight just for the purpose of throwing together a title fight.
100%.
So we had to put together a title fight that makes sense. But I can tell you right now, whether it's a title fight or not, this is definitely a title fight, title quality style fight. I mean, this kid Igor, fought for our title last time, lost in the title fight, and Kevin Fernandez is knocking on the door for a title shot. So this is going to be a really, really great test, and we've also got some other great fights on the card that definitely the crowd will not be disappointed.
What are some of those other fights that you're pretty excited about for this Louisville card?
Well, we got Richie Miranda versus Keegan Agnew, that's going to be the and a 7-1 wrestler against a 6-1. It's going to be an interesting fight. We got Landry Ward, who was our main event in it was a few months back. Just a phenomenal fighter. And then we've got a kid his name's Kibity Jordan. We call him KG. Is fighting Angelo Robles. We got Mateo Garner fighting Logan Woods. That's our main card. We're also we have one more fight on the main card that the opponent, one of the opponents pulled out, and we're just kind of trying to find a replacement for that. But so there'll be 6 fights on the main card, and most likely we'll probably end up having a good 6 to 7 fights on the prelims. So they'll end up getting a good 12 to 13 card, if not more. Sometimes maybe 14. It just depends. As we know in our business, sometimes injuries are out of our control, and sometimes when people get injured close to the fight, if we can't really put together a fight that makes sense, sometimes we have to scratch it.
Fair enough, and that's from my perspective, from a fan perspective, that's much more appreciated than just throwing something on the card and saying, "Here you go." So I'm sure the fans are going to love this fight. Yeah, this fight card is absolutely insane. I can't wait to watch it. March 29th in Louisville, Kentucky. How can people get tickets for this fight? How can people watch this fight? Give them the little breakdown of those things.
Well, as far as where they can watch the fight, our main card is broadcasted exclusively on UFC Fight Pass. You're a fight fan and you don't have a subscription to Fight Pass, I honestly don't know what you're thinking, because you've got all the old UFC fights on there, all the old Pride fights, all the old WEC fights. On top of that, you're getting over 250 live events a year, extra stuff. Honestly, if you're a fight fan, on top of all their original programming, I don't know if you've ever watched any of those Fight Lures shows that they have on there, that they interview these fighters and there's animation. Those are absolutely incredible. One of my favorite ones is the one that they did with Glover Teixeira. There's one with Nate Diaz. They're just awesome. So that's the platform to watch it on. You could watch our prelims. Typically, we air 2 or 3 of our prelims on the LFA Fight Network channel on YouTube. So our platform, our channel there is really growing and really getting a lot of traction. Talked about earlier, we broadcasted Attitude MMA from Memphis, Tennessee, last Saturday night on our channel, and so, we're like I said, our whole goal with the LFA and our whole goal with the sport of MMA is to just help grow it and help give these young athletes exposure and to help them follow their dream. And as far as getting tickets goes, you could go to and we work with so many different venues, and I believe this could be a Ticketmaster venue. So, okay. but you could go to lfa.com, click onto the fight, and it'll direct you to where to get tickets. So I'm not sure if it would be LFA ticket site or if it will be Ticketmaster. I should have known that before I came on here, but I know if you go to lfa.com, like I said, we're talking about LFA 80 and I still got LFA 177 a couple weeks away. So that's a few shows ahead. And I'm just trying to, I'm happy that we're doing this podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very happy to have you on it. And just because you're the CEO, normally I do this with fighters, but I'm not going to shy away. One of my favorite things to do on the podcast is rapid fire questions. I give you about 4 or 5 off the top of my head. You just got to give me the very first answer that comes off the top of yours. So putting you on the spot, Ed, hope you're ready for it.
Let's do it.
What has been your favorite LFA event you've ever put on?
I would have to say the LFA event in Recife, Brazil, we did in last September. It was our biggest show that we've ever done. We had 9,800 people in Brazil, and it was the closest feeling that I had to being the UFC. When I walked into that arena and saw almost 10,000 people cheering, it was, gave me goosebumps. It was absolutely incredible. I've had a lot of favorite ones, but with this rapid fire question, that's the first one.
I love it. I don't want to make you pick favorites too much, but Mount Rushmore has 4 heads, and you've had a lot of talent come through LFA. Do you have a top 4 fighters that have ever fought on an LFA card?
I would have to say Rushmore. And if I'm including obviously everything under our umbrella, which is RFA and Legacy, I would say some of the biggest names that came through. One of them would have to be Holly Holm,
okay,
Alex Pereira, and I'll just say some current ones. I mean, we'd have to have a bigger Mount Rushmore because we've got Alex Pereira, we've got Alexander Pantoja, we've got Sean O'Malley, we've got Henry Cejudo. We've got just so many. Valentina. We've been fortunate. It would be really difficult for me to do that. And I guess if we're going to start to actively fighting, I mean, many, but we've been blessed. But I would probably say Pereira, Holly Holm, Henry Cejudo. I would feel horrible leaving anybody out.
I'll give you a pass on that one. Yeah.
Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
So many incredible talents that have gone through our organization, and so many great talents that are just in the UFC now, and people really haven't got to know who they are yet, but they will soon.
Fair enough. You travel a lot. What is your favorite food to have while you're out on the road? Obviously, this is knuckle sandwich, so we got to bring food in this somehow. What's your favorite food while on the road?
Man, I'm a sushi guy. If I can eat sushi, I can, but obviously not everywhere in the world that you travel to or every spot is going to have the best sushi spot. So I'm a pretty simple guy, man. Give me some steak. I'll have some steak and I'm fine, or some fish or steak is probably what my preferences are.
And then last one, who is the most famous contact in your phone, Ed?
I would probably say Dana White or Steven Seagal.
Would either one of them pick up if you called him right now?
Well, Steven Seagal's in Russia right now. Well, I was texting back and forth with Dana yesterday during the Super Bowl, so I don't know if they would pick up right now.
That's insane. Well, Ed, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody before we close this out?
I don't have anyone in particular, but once again, I got to give credit where credit's due, and I really appreciate Eddie Donaldson and everything that he's doing to help make this event come to life, and appreciate him connecting us together, and hopefully this will be the first of many others, man. Thank you for having me on the show, and like I said, I love coming to this region of the United States, and I believe Louisville this is our first Louisville show, but it's going to be the first of many.
Well, I can't wait to watch the fights, and I definitely am very thankful that me and you've gotten connected. I hope to have you on the show again. Ed Soares, ladies and gentlemen.